Welcome to the Creator's Adventure, where we interview creators from around the world, hearing their stories about growing a business. My name is Brian McAnulty. I'm the founder of Heights Platform. And today I'm talking with Clara Baldwin about how to run a marketing agency, acquire and manage clients, and getting out of your comfort zone. Hey everyone, we're here today with Clara Baldwin. She's an entrepreneur from Kansas City and the founder of two marketing agencies, Cure Medical Marketing and Ground Plan Studio Marketing, a national digital agency that serves clients all over the United States, providing SEO, graphic design, business strategy launching, growth, lead generation, and development in online presences. She also launched a nonprofit for domestic abuse survivors called Peace Over Pieces. Clara has won many business awards, including being the winner of the Top 100 Small Business Awards and was a finalist for Businesswoman of the Year 2022 by Women Business Awards. Clara, welcome to the show.
Hi, Brian. Thank you for having me.
So, my first question for you is if you could tell us a little bit about yourself and how your career as an entrepreneur started.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yes, you mentioned I am from Kansas City. I'm a big Midwest girl, even though everyone I work with is not from the Midwest. But I was raised in a family of five, and my mom is from Thailand. I'm a first generation American. Was raised 2 hours away from where I live in Columbia, Missouri. I played a lot of sports growing up, mainly tennis, and went to college for that as well at Westminster in Fulton, Missouri, which is next door to my hometown. But yeah, I honestly faced a lot of adversity growing up. I didn't have money. It was an abusive household, so that's why it led to my nonprofit as well. And I know that's like jumping into darkness already, but it kind of sets up like who I am, my personality, and like why I am entrepreneurial because it kind of led me to start my first business when I was 16 years old. I had a drop shipping company back when the industry wasn't so saturated, and that kind of it bloomed my business side essentially. So yeah, I left the house at 18, went to college for computer science and marketing, and then started my two businesses my junior year of college, and then my second marketing agency a year after graduation. So it's been a pretty wild ride.
Awesome. Cool. Well, that's a great introduction. So, now you have these two marketing agencies, Ground Plan Studio and Cure Medical Marketing. Can you explain what the kind of services you provide with these companies?
Yeah, absolutely. So I started with Ground Plan Studio, and I thought I wanted to do website development, as everyone in the marketing industry when they first start. And then you quickly find out every single person alive has a website, and it's not a needed thing anymore. It was back in the early 2000s, that was like the gold mine. So I quickly was like, okay, I have to find different needs in the marketing industry. So I honestly provide so many things at this point, but it started with like social media and then it grew to mainly an ad agency. And then we provide things like, you know, PR, SEO, graphic design, like leads, funnels, everything you could really imagine. And I kind of give a guarantee to my client, like if I can't provide it, then I'm going to go find someone to do it.
Cool. Yeah. Actually, in my research, so the way that we do this is we have a writer who she's putting together most of the questions and research for me. But
Mhm.
before this interview, I went and was taking a look at your site, and I think I noticed somewhere you mentioned about how, like nowadays, like you have to continuously like be educated and keep learning about everything because it's changing so rapidly. And
Yes.
it's definitely really is like that because I started my business as a web design studio back in 2009.
Oh,
And
awesome.
at that time, it was like where you would do a web design, it meant like you were going to make something in Photoshop, and then the web developer was going to cut up a bunch of images from it and all of that.
Right.
And it just changed so rapidly. Even like during the time we were going through that, myself personally, I started that right out of high school. I didn't go to college, and I felt like
Gotcha.
if I went to
Cool.
college, by the time I got out, like whatever I've learned, it would have already been different. Because by that time it
Right.
even switched to like, okay, well, we're not going to use Photoshop anymore. You can just design in the browser and use the CSS. So the web designer now has to know how to be a web developer, and yeah, everything changes really quickly. So
Oh my
it is an
gosh,
interesting
yeah,
field,
all
though.
the time. Definitely. No, I'm a big believer in like every day everything changes and it can be overwhelming, especially in digital marketing. And there's a lot of theories out there, which is the worst part because you're kind of alone as an entrepreneur and then there's like a million different opinions and questions from clients. And you honestly, like doing this for going on 10 years now, I'm just like, you have to go with your gut and also just test a lot of things because everyone's going to be a different experiment essentially. So there's not one formula for anyone. And you're honestly not going to know at first, like exactly what to do for them. But the key is just test a lot, get a lot of data, and that will lead you.
Yeah. Cool. So yeah, could you actually expand on that even more and say like, in terms of mindset, like, what would you say it takes to be a entrepreneur and really start from the ground up?
Yeah, yeah, it's a good question. Honestly, when I first started, I was so scared of everything. I was scared of rejection. I was scared of getting on phone calls. So I guess the number one thing would be just face rejection like head on. Like just know like inevitably you're going to face rejection and it's going to be scary, but you and once you get over that hump, you can do a lot and reach all of your accomplishments. That and also being resourceful, I feel like, because you're not going to know 90% of the things you run across in the beginning. So you have to constantly teach yourself, look up resources, just sharpen your skills and get better at everything in your field because if you roll over when you don't know something and you panic because you are given a task and again you're not sure what to do, you can quickly sink in the industry. So I would say, yeah, just have confidence in yourself and know that every business owner is going to go through the same thing, and also constantly research.
That's a great tip. Yeah, I think in your industry especially, um, it happens even more. So for business owners or creators out there in other industries, definitely don't be afraid to try out working on something even if you haven't done it before. Because again, I can relate to that in like the web design world and everything what we were doing. That a client comes
Right.
to you and they want to use some kind of different technology or whatever it is, and you're not super familiar with that,
Hmm.
but you have to find a way that like, well, how can I hire someone or have somebody else help that is, and we can learn it and then know it going forward. So there's definitely so much of that, I think,
Exactly.
in
I
your
totally
industry.
agree. Right.
Cool. So both of your companies are marketing agencies, and the services that you offer, it looks like through both of them are pretty similar. So can you explain what was the reason that you created this second, more targeted company for the medical industry?
Okay, yeah. So I took a bunch of courses eventually. After being self-taught, I had this thing in my mind. I was like, I have to go through courses to make sure what I'm doing is right and to see what other people are doing. So it was essentially a marketing agency owner's academy.
Mm.
So, paid a lump sum of money to go to that, just to say, you know what, I have no self-doubt anymore. Not that you need that after going through it. I don't think you need it at all. But anyways, I went through it and they really honed in on me saying, you need a niche. Like you need to do one niche and just really, really excel in it. And it will help your revenues and it will help your businesses. And I quickly found out that's not true. So I don't know. For me, I just wanted to start that agency to say like I told you so. But I personally like all niches. I love waking up every day and I have a new client and a new industry to research and work with and just learn about what they do. So, some people it's like they start a new niche. Mine was medical. I just wanted to go with that to see if it excelled. And it did. It's like it's kind of the same thing, like you said, same services, just honing in on medical clients. But I hope that's not discouraging. It's just kind of a way of me saying, like, okay, I told you so. I tried your niche theory, and I think that doing what I want to do and what I'm passionate for was the ultimate um, end case for me. So I'm actually probably veering back to ground plan studio only full time, but I kind of went that path just to test different things.
Mm, got it. Yeah, well, I think that's interesting,
Mhm.
and I think that's a good point, especially with the prevalence of everyone nowadays saying you need a niche, and it's got to be you got to pick a niche.
Yeah.
We say it ourselves even. So it's interesting to address
Yeah.
because myself, when I started my company as a web design company, we were similar to yourself that there was no niche. It was just like, we can help you. We can do all these things. And we
Right.
offered even like video services and other things at the time as well. Um, I guess with that, eventually we did niche down a little bit more, and eventually that transformed as the industry transformed, where we moved from like websites to web applications, and now that led us to
Right.
building our course creation software that we have today. But
Right.
I also enjoyed really, when we didn't have a specific target, being able to work with that variety of customers. And
Yeah,
so I think that
definitely.
that is a good point to make, that if you're a creator or business owner out there and you feel that you enjoy working with all different kinds of people, and you feel that you can go that route and you don't need a niche, then I think you don't have to pick one. If you're worried about
Yeah.
what to do and you don't have any kind of specialization, then I think the niche can help you in making basically your marketing, your service being tailored to a specific kind of client. But if you feel that you have the experience and you feel that you can serve different kind of people and that's what you want to do, then definitely I think that's a fine approach as well.
100%. I totally agree. And sometimes niches are easy because you can almost duplicate and you master your craft in one area. But for me, I just really have a passion for like all industries. So there's really no wrong way. It's just your needs, honestly.
Yeah. All right, so back to your business career. On top of the marketing agencies, you also founded a nonprofit organization to protect the victims of domestic abuse called Peace Over Pieces. Can you go into a little bit more detail of like what inspired you to found this nonprofit?
Yeah, of course. Obviously, as I did this, developed this nonprofit, I became more comfortable with the reason why. And that was, like I said in the beginning, I was raised with a lot of adversity growing up. My father was extremely abusive to my mom and the kids, like every day of our life for all 18 years of my existence. So it took a toll on me severely as a person. Like, the person I am today is a completely opposite person of who I was in high school, middle school, elementary. I was honestly a very, like, just scarred, really dark person, mysterious. Like, I had a lot going on at home, so I was, bullied, and I was really sensitive, and it was just like everything was stacking on my emotional being and, like, how to get out of this trap. And I think that domestic abuse is something that's like, it's just not talked about. I mean, in case like the recent years, it's really been unsurfaced. But back when I was younger, there were no resources for me. There's hotlines, but of course, people in that situation, you're really scared. Like, you never have an opportunity to call a hotline when you live with someone that's you're constantly in danger and being looked at. So my dream was like, I'm gonna get myself and my mom out of this situation and my siblings. And my dream one day is to use the money from a business to really create something that is like a support system for children, women, men, anyone going through abuse. Because I feel like, yeah, there's shelters, but again, you can't really escape. That's the whole problem. It's like you don't have financial resources. You're not, brave enough because you can't relate to anyone. You have no one to look at. So what Peace Over Pieces is like, I have a podcast and I bring on, previous survivors of abuse, and we just go from zero to their whole story of like how the abuse started, and we uncover why and like how that affected them and how they deal with trauma and how they escape the situation. That way it's like I would have given anything to hear podcasts when I was younger like that, because it would have made me feel less alone. It would have given me insight on how to get out of those situations. So the main part is just to make people feel normalized and that they're not alone in these podcasts. And I also released an anthology book, and it has like 14 stories, including my own, at the end, of like just various people and their stories. And yeah, so everything I do in that organization, it's 100% donation, and it goes to transitioning people out of their abusive situations.
Oh yeah, that's great. Yeah, I think from what I can tell, from what I know about you so far, I feel like I'm getting the impression that you figured out kind of the things that you want to go after and what you want to create as a business for yourself, ideally, and then you're going and doing that. And I think that's great.
Mhm.
And
Thank you.
I think it's a good example to other creators who are getting started and thinking, okay, well, like I kind of want to do these things in the future, but why not just go and work on all of them now? And it seems like that's what you're
Yeah,
doing. So that's awesome.
definitely. Thank you.
So I guess in that line, what would you suggest to somebody who wants to start their own marketing agency?
Ooh, I would say just, get your ducks lined up. Sit down, think about what exactly are your goals in the beginning, even if it's one client, two clients a month. Um, and obviously, you have to just keep teaching yourself skills. You're probably going to run into mistakes a lot in the beginning, and you're not going to know what you're doing. You're going to be lost. But if you just realize that mistakes are needed and you're going to learn from them and constantly improve your systems and also make your life easier, I would say study a lot of softwares. You're going to run across a new software every day with a client. And also you need, certain softwares to make your processes easier because ultimately you're one person. You can't take on a million things a day. You're going to quickly fizzle out in that aspect. Because when I first started, I didn't have employees. I tried to take every single thing on from the designs, the writing, And I get that a lot of people they are against agencies, but you can still be a front man to your business and make blueprints and like have the creatives and be the only stream of contact. But also you can realize like you don't have to put everything on your shoulders. Like you do mainly all the blueprints in my opinion, and then you figure out ways to make it easier. That way you can grow fast. So if I was, looking at myself when I first started, I would definitely say that and not to just get lost in the stress either. Just take it day by day and forget about the bad day because I would just hold on to the rejection and the emotions in it, and you just can't get lost in that. You have to stay strong.
Got it. So for somebody listening, who might say like, okay, well that sounds great, but like I still don't understand like how do I get from starting to like where you are today? So can you
Oh,
explain a little bit of like, I guess briefly, I know it's a long story probably, but like how you
yeah.
went from like starting just being yourself, doing the marketing agency, and then turning that into something where now you have a team. Like, what did that look like for you? Like, when did you start to outsource something? How did you figure out how to do that?
Okay. So I guess in short, how I started was figuring out different streams to get clients. So you have to look at everything from social media outreach to Upwork, freelancer, many people start there. So you have to start and get a really good proposal. Even if you don't have a big portfolio, you have to have a really strong application as any job. So really work on making it, refined and like super professional and tell them what you're going to do for them. They don't want to know like the basic, oh, I can run, applications, I can post, I can design. They want to know like how are you going to better their business. So when I went into a proposal, I would customize every single proposal because normally they hook their website on it, their company on it. I would do a personal free presentation for every single client that was personalized. I put their logo on the front slide and I would go deep dive into every single thing. Do I have time for that today? No, but I still do it because I'm like, it really makes you stand out. Like that's one of my secrets of getting so many clients is just like go above and beyond. Don't just do the normal application. So once I started doing that and I refined a really good proposal, they were pouring in. And then I started, needing to outsource more work because I was getting overwhelmed and the tasks were building up every day. I think I was working like 50, 60 hours a week. Um, but so when you get to that point, I would say I personally love Asana. So it's a free application. You can delegate tasks in there to employees, and set due dates very easily. It's just so user friendly. So training is really intimidating to people, but I honestly use Upwork to outsource all my employees. It's the best platform ever. I put a post up, I say, I need a graphic designer. Boom, they categorize people from top rated to lowest rated. I go straight to the top rated and I interview the top five. Super easy. You send them a couple of messages and then you choose and you're like, all right, let's get on a quick phone call and you just delegate. That's all you have to do. Honestly, with outsourcing, it's not as intimidating as you think. You just have to get on it because people put it off. And so I try to make point to keep hiring people so you don't just put it on one person either. Like you spread out, I do like 5 hours a week for all my employees and just keep hiring so they enjoy their job. They're getting paid well, for what they're doing, which is not much. And they're eager to work. So those are, I guess, my outsourcing secrets.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah. That's definitely helpful. So has your like role day to day changed in any way from like when you started to now, as far as like what you do in the company?
Yeah. I mean, I still have weeks where I work a lot, but my ultimate goal obviously is like I just want to be the person who does the blueprints and the communication and the vision and then kind of outsource it. So, and of course I'm monitoring constantly, but yeah, from the beginning when I was working 50, 60 hours and I was tied down to my computer and phone like 24/7, I could never go back to that. Now I have a very healthy relationship with my business, my employees, my time management. I travel like more than three-fourths of the year, basically. And I'm doing all the things that I dreamt of doing because I took the steps to outsource and get here. So, yes, it's completely different. And it was a journey, but I love it.
Awesome. So with your marketing agency's clients, how often would you say you run into a situation where like you have to educate the client and what do you do to like communicate the importance of something like that? Especially since in marketing, it can be hard to show an immediate ROI.
Oh, that is a good question. That is the biggest problem with a lot of marketing agency owners is we work with older generations. They barely even know how to work a phone sometimes. So when they're like, "Hey, when can you make me go viral? When can you give me 10,000 followers? Like give me a day." And it's just so frustrating because it's like we're concentrating on the wrong things and I get that they don't understand, but you really just have to take your time to explain to them and I've learned over time like I have a whole folder of documents of like explanations of my processes because it got really exhausting trying to explain things over email and phone. So I actually have a big folder of like, if they were to ask, what's an algorithm or what's SEO? How are you improving my SEO? Like, I basically write down every single step and process. That way I can copy it over and it's very easy and less stressful. And I also just like send frequent updates. And every time I do something, I explain it in an email or a text or I call them. Just like have them learn beside you because one problem in the industry is that clients go dark. They just go like rogue and don't talk. And then suddenly they're mad. So I learned quickly like I can't let them not talk. I have to like pull them out of the dark and say, what do you like about what I'm doing? What do you want to see from me? Because if you don't do that, I would say their retention rates around like 1 to 2 months, 1 to 3 months. If you're constantly checking in on them and teaching them, you can get that retention rate to up to long term, like 6 months to years. So my ultimate goal right now is to keep my retention rate up, and it is a process I'm still learning.
Well, yeah, you're giving me flashbacks to when I was doing the design agency. But yeah,
Oh, I'm
I
sure.
think as an agency, you really have to like an agency owner. Like a lot of your job is really as like a communicator and kind of a translator between like the client and your team. So you have to explain to the
Right.
client like what you understand what they want, and you have to explain to them they might have heard some of these technical terms, but they're not really connecting it. And so then you have to take their
Oh, yeah.
vision and then communicate it to your team so they can actually create that for them.
Exactly. Exactly.
Cool. So with the team that you're working with, does your team actually help you get new clients? If not, what is your preferred way of acquiring clients today?
Okay, a little thing that I found, I don't know if I invented this, but I call it a growth clerk. It's a virtual assistant essentially. because I was, it gets tiring to go on websites like Upwork and Freelancer and just depend on that. And you also never want to depend on one stream for your clients because what happens if that goes out, you're completely done. So I actually like hired like 4 or 5 growth clerks, and essentially they're people who work for me full time around the clock and send messages to get leads. So based on the target audience, they'll probably target like business owners, obviously. I make a message for them to send out and like with my Calendly, and then I did not invent this, by the way. What the heck? This happens all the time. But back when I found this. I thought I did. So I really hone in on the personal aspect. So they'll send a message with my Calendly that's short, sweet, maybe a question. Then I follow up with a voice note. I've found that that works really well with people, or at least it gives you the time of day to jump on a quick call with them, because everyone's getting spam nowadays. So I do that. Obviously, I still open up streams like Freelancer, Upwork, Fiverr. I just want to come in at all angles. So I just have them constantly coming in and I just continue to grow.
Got it. So like this cold outreach, is it like typically through like a single channel? Is it through all the channels? Like, is it like LinkedIn, Facebook Messenger, emails?
Yes, it's LinkedIn and Instagram DMs. And Instagram's actually really the number one reaction I've seen because I tell them to follow them, like their top 5 picks, comment on their picks, and also comment, I messaged you. So they go looking for like the spam in case it goes there. And yeah, I feel like when you pay extra attention to them rather than just sending a random bot message through like this bot account, really works.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's a good point because yeah, definitely there's a lot of people, um, I think, kind of abusing the systems and automation possibilities in this kind of cold outreach.
Yeah.
So when you're a business
Hmm.
that has this genuine interest to help a specific client, and when you can show that and add that personalization, it can really make all the difference.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree.
Awesome. So, one of the things we like to do on this show is have each of our guests ask a question to our audience. So, if there was anything you could ask our audience, what would that be?
Okay, my question is, when is the last time you got out of your comfort zone? Because I feel like that's the key to just loving life and improving yourself in business and personal is get out of your comfort zone at least once a day. Like that is my motto. And it will just help your confidence and your experiences and your opportunities. They just open up if you really, get out of your skin every once in a while. So, yeah, that would be my question. Ask yourself once a day, how am I going to get out of my comfort zone? And just do it. Pull the plug.
Awesome. All right. Well, great. Thank you, Clara. So this was all the questions I had. But before we get going, where else can people find you online?
Yeah, so all of my social media, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, it's Clara Baldwin. So just search that up and add me if you want. And then Ground Plan Studio, Piece Over Pieces is my nonprofit. You can look all of those up and they will be available.
All right. Awesome. Thanks, Clara.
All right, thank you for having me.